God considers anxiety to actually be a crisis of faith. So why would I say this? I basically say this because it just shows that somebody does not fully trust in God. Matthew 6:27 says, "And which of you by being anxious can add a single cubit to his lifespan?" Or in other words, somebody can take that exact same verse and just ask, what does being anxious do for you? Like, what good does it really do for any of us? And the answer is nothing. If anything, it just makes things a lot harder. It's very interesting how a lot of people who claim to be Christians or Christ followers really have anxious and troubled hearts. And the reason is because they do not fully and truly trust in God with all of their heart. They don't fully, I guess you can say, surrender their whole entire day or their life or whatever hour they're living to God. And maybe it's because that surrender might be them giving something up, right? Maybe it might be giving up that desire to have things in their own control, right? And for many of us, that's actually quite scary. But then again, here comes that faith and that trust in God, that that is His job, that He will work things out for the good of those who love Him. But remember, without this surrender, we will never be able to truly find that peace that we're looking for. Something that I've noticed is a lot of anxiety comes from us trying to seek or reach the world's standard for something, whether that be in finances or whether that be in things that we have materialistically or whatever that might be, an attitude or a way of being or acting around people. Certain, whatever that world standard might be, right? When we try to reach it and it doesn't work out, it causes a lot of anxieties. So Satan goes around and he makes all that stuff look really good and really desirable, right? But the thing is, what he doesn't tell us is that along with that comes its challenges, its perplexities, all of its worries and anxieties, and all the things that go along with it that is very undesirable. But when we go and we actively seek for that stuff, we're going to be getting that stuff back sooner or later. So when we're seeking things of this world, expect to carry that burden of anxiety. Matthew 11:30 says, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light," right? Worrying and anxiety is just a blind course, right? We're walking through and we're trying to determine the future. But we're not future seers. We can't actually determine what's going to happen. But God already knows the end from the beginning. He knows it all. And not only that, even when we look towards God and the things of heaven, which is what we're supposed to do, not the things of this world, things are going to happen to us that could possibly cause us to feel uneasy, right? But when we look towards Him, He will take on that burden and it'll feel lighter for us, right? We won't be so anxious. And not only that, but we can definitely, with full-hearted confidence, say that God has already created a way out of those perplexities for us. We just gotta look to Him for the answers and ways to do it. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with really looking towards the future in a certain extent, right? When we're looking at our health, for example, right? If I'm looking right now, I'm gonna be like, okay, if I don't stop eating like this, or if I don't stop doing this, like this and this and this are going to happen, and I don't want it, so I'm gonna have to start doing things right now to change, right? The same thing can go with like finances. And even some people do that with their salvation too. Like, I need to get better with God, because if not, man, like this is not going to be like good, and it's not going to be the relationship that I truly desire with God. So to a certain extent, yes, be concerned with things, but don't be overly anxious about it, because there's a difference. So one last thing that I want to share, and I think it's a really important concept, is understanding what is my responsibility versus what is the responsibility of God. And the reason I think this is a very important concept is because when I'm anxious, then all of a sudden I am now carrying that burden, like whatever anxiety that might be or whatever I'm worried about. So here I am and I'm carrying it. And what I'm basically saying is I'm going to put myself in the position of God, and I'm going to take God's place because I know what's better for me. I know I can get through this. But then when I take the world's wisdom or my wisdom and try to get through it, it's not working. My anxiety is really just getting worse because, again, my lack in faith, and I am putting myself in God's position. And I can guarantee that none of us can do a better job than God can in everything. So even though we might not be saying this out loud, this is the kind of things that are happening within our heart. Those are the kind of positions that we put ourselves in that we really don't want to be in the first place. So it's actively making sure that we don't do that. Children would jump out of a burning building if they knew that their father was down there and says, "I'm going to catch you, it's okay, just jump." Why? Because children have so much trust in their parent or their father, and they don't have to worry whether or not dad is going to catch them at the bottom, because they have so much trust in them and they have that relationship to know that he's going to pull through, he's going to do it, right? And sometimes children don't even think like that. They don't think, they just do, because that trust and that relationship is so strong. And we need to be more like these kids, because if we don't, and if we don't trust God the way we're supposed to, we're never again going to be able to find that peace that's going to calm us from our anxieties or things that we worry about. So I hope you take time to reflect what your relationship with God looks like, and more specifically that trust that you have with him. And I want to share a verse with you, and I think it's very, very special. And it's found in Romans 8, verse 28. And it says, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." So think about the things that you're anxious about, and think about, am I putting myself in God's position? Because truly, I know that I cannot do a better job than he can. He's going to take care of me, and he's going to catch me at the bottom. I just got to be willing to trust him and to jump. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have an amazing day.